Leading global specialist risk consultancy Control Risks and Oxford Economics Africa have launched the 2021 edition of the Africa Risk Reward Index, which examines and reveals the longer-term impact of COVID-19 on Africa. The Africa Risk Reward Index is an authoritative guide for policymakers, business leaders and investors, and illustrates the evolution of the investment landscape in major African markets and provides a grounded longer-term outlook of key trends shaping investment in these economies. Well, Tim Cox, partner West Africa at Control Risks, joins us now to share his insights and views on Africa's post-pandemic and unpack the major themes featured in the report. Thank you very much, Mr. Cox, for joining us on the program. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Great to be back with you.
So tell us more about Africa Risk Reward Index and its importance to policy making and investment in Africa.
Sure. So we have been publishing this report along with our partners, Oxford Economics Africa, since 2017. And as you mentioned in the introduction, it provides a snapshot of the evolution of the investment environment across the major economies in Africa. And it fundamentally is a comparative snapshot. So we measure two different aspects within our methodology, focusing both on the rewards based upon potential investment, but also the potential risks associated with it. And in addition to that, each year we identify a number of key trends or themes that we think warrant special attention from investors who are looking to invest across the major economies. And while we don't have time to go into the full results today, a full copy is available on our website for anyone who's interested in the specific index and also the methodology that we've used to compile it.
Yeah, sure. The report noted three major factors that will actually shape Africa's pandemic recovery. Talked about innovation in healthcare, mounting debt pressures, and regional insecurity. Now, could you unpack these for us?
Sure. So the first is actually a positive to emerge from the chaos and the tragedy of the pandemic. And that is that we've seen a significant uptick in terms of investment in health tech and in biotech across the continent. And this brings a number of different benefits. Firstly, of course, to the populations themselves, but also auxiliary benefits that apply to other sectors such as agriculture. And this is a very expensive thing to do. And so the pandemic actually provided the opportunity for investors to pile in resources into this space and look at developing manufacturing capacity and the required scientific research centers in the continent itself. So that has been a positive aspect. Secondly, as you mentioned, we've been looking at the impact upon the growing debt burden upon African governments. And this is not a new phenomenon, but in many places has been exacerbated by the pandemic. And what we see here is that governments are having to adopt increasingly innovative ways to try and either increase income for expanding the fiscal base or other measures, or indeed mitigate the debt that they currently owe through ring fencing or other measures that pertain to the multilateral or bilateral discussions they're having. But ultimately, this points to a concerning trend in that the levels of debt, and in some cases, paradoxically, there's an attempt to spend the way out of the debt that they face, and the impact that that's going to have on their attempts to grow the fiscal base in the future. And then the final trend that we highlight is relating to security, and that's the changing nature of Western, in particular, intervention and military intervention from other nations outside of Africa in the continent. And this has led to a fragmentation in the security environment, and in many ways made the security environment far more complicated for businesses looking to operate.
Now, a country such as Nigeria that has been afflicted with conflict recently and various economic challenges, what is behind the improvement in its reward score, and what do you see hindering its recovery?
Sure. So Nigeria is a very interesting case. And of course, as we noted at the start, we measure both the risk and also the reward. So Nigeria's risk rating has actually deteriorated slightly, which is in recognition of some of the security challenges that we faced over the last year. But the reward factor has increased noticeably. And that is because many of the sectors of the economy which have done relatively well during the pandemic, we're looking at the tech sectors, we're looking at the wider ICT space, we're looking at fintech and telecoms in particular, they have a strong market in Nigeria and tremendous opportunity for growth. You've got a young tech-savvy population, and so there is tremendous opportunity within those spaces. Conversely, an ongoing challenge for Nigeria is the security environment and the security situation. And we're speaking to investors on a daily basis about this, and it is always top of their list of concerns. The fact that there may be harm that comes to their people, their reputation, or their assets. So that will be the main limiting factor for Nigeria over the coming year.
Now, how are the African governments expected to work with this index to improve its investment climate?
Well, this is one of a number of different tools that governments and investors have and which they can use to look at the comparative benefits of investing in one location or another. I think the first message, and it's perhaps the most obvious one, is that it is a competition. It is comparative. And so economies, like businesses, compete for investment. And it's critical that the foundations are put in place to enable a stable platform for investors to prosper and to do well. And anything that governments are doing in order to further that goal is likely to be well received. We personally believe that some of the most exciting investment opportunities globally exist here on the continent, and indeed very close to home here in Lagos. So there is real potential for optimism there. I think secondly, it's to note that the policy-making decisions that are enacted, while they can seem abstract as they're being formulated and implemented, have a very real impact upon the investment environment on ground. So one of the aspects in Nigeria that we didn't touch upon in the last question is the fact that the PIB has successfully passed through the legislative process, and that has a significant impact upon the investment environment. That stability and that platform that it creates, it is something that investors crave and seek and actively seek out. So again, cause for optimism in that regard as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, team, for your time with us on the program this afternoon. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you very much.